He's moved all in here.
I just don't understand the play at all. He moves all in for what basically is 91,500.
I tell you what, if he gets them both to fold, it'd be a miracle.
Tom Dwan does call. Alan Cunningham folds. And this pot is now over $200,000. It's the biggest pot of the $1 million cash game. Gus Hansen needs a jack, and only a jack. Deuce of hearts on the turn. One card. And the Great Dane goes up in flames. Tom Dwan wins $207,000. Gus Hansen felt it just like that.
I think Gus is so sick with the way he played the pot, I think he's left the building. I think the audience can smell a big pot coming.
Andrew Feldman thinks about what play is the right play.
Right.
I think Madisow's just going to move in here.
How much?
You've got 25,500.
Cool.
Madisow moves all in.
The nuts on.
You got the nuts?
No.
I got a flush.
Me too.
It's king.
Queen. You're the king.
We know that Mike Madisow is drawing dead. He cannot win this hand.
Mike Madisow doing nothing wrong and losing that pot.
9-3 deuce,
What a
couple of
flop
diamonds.
for Gus Hansen.
We could really see fireworks here. Gus Hansen has an open-ended straight draw plus the flush draw. Feldman with the overpair with the queens.
Gus has bet 10,000.
And there is the raise. He's behind right now, but the percentages say that he's a favorite. I mean, the correct play is to move all in, right?
Well, that's what he's doing.
58,000 more.
And now, if you're Andrew Feldman with the two queens, how much do you like your hand? You could very easily have a set.
I mean, let's also remember, Gus Hansen is stuck $100,000. That has to factor into the decision.
Talk to me, Gus. Pass.
And that's what he's going to get. He gets him to lay the hand down. Two queens hit the muck for Andrew Feldman.
Hello and welcome to London, where we have the biggest names in poker and unlimited cash buy-ins. All the players trying to make as much profit as possible in order to walk off with the much coveted 2009 Full Tilt Poker.net $1 million cash game trophy. We've got all the ingredients we need, so let's hand you straight up to your commentators.
I want us to stay here all night.
Hello and welcome to the Full Tilt Poker.net $1 million cash game. We're in the heart of London, and some of the best and biggest names in poker have come together to put their money where their mouth is. There's Chris Jesus Ferguson, the 2000 World Series of Poker main event champion. I'm David Tuckman alongside poker phenom Robert Williamson III. Quite a lineup we have here, huh, Robert?
I'll tell you what, this is one time I'm glad I'm in the booth and not down there on the felt. What a tough lineup we've got.
There's Gus Hansen. Got off to a rough start in this $1 million cash game. This is season 4, by the way. Quickly lost $100,000.
22.
But he is now, Gus Hansen is now up 98,000.
Cool.
There's Tom Dwan. Doesn't need much of an excuse to mix it up. And he's going to raise it up with ace, deuce of clubs. Madisow going to call with the queen 10.
No surprises there yet. I know Tom Dwan's going to play a lot of hands, and people are going to try to take advantage of him playing so many hands. In position, I don't blame Mike.
King 6-9.
Wow, it's an interesting flop. How about a flopped flush for Tom Dwan?
Yeah, the nut flush.
And Mike Madisow, not normally the player to mix it up, but he's gonna float one here. He's gonna take one off. Like the play?
You know, I don't like it. I know what he's thinking. Why not reevaluate on the turn? Give him a call on his flop bet, float him.
Well, the 7 of hearts on the turn changes some things. Mike Madisow, well, it goes check, check. I was going to say the 7 on the turn. Madisow actually double gutted. He could have caught a jack or an 8 to make the straight. Obviously, we know he's drawing dead.
Yeah, well, on top of that, he did make a pair on the river here, so he might be in payoff mode. He might feel like he has to pay this off now.
Well, pot 14,200, and it's a small, tiny bet there, 2,800.
Yeah, he's going to get paid off. You know, once he decided to float this, now he made the hand he was drawing at. I mean, you know, besides a straight.
You're probably the best. I win it.
Huh?
I win.
I mean, it's a ridiculously tiny bet there
I couldn't turn my cards over.
from Tom Dwan. And he says, I won, and yeah, I've only got the nuts.
Queen high flush. You didn't want to go broke this time, Mikey, with a queen high flush.
Does that mean you flopped your pair?
Means you got the absolute maximum you were ever gonna get.
No way. I don't think that's what it means.
No, I
You
hadn't.
were never getting more than the 2,800 you bet on the river.
No, I hadn't picked there. If you bet like 3,100 on the river, he's out.
To get started, one player is made the nominated dealer or button. Then the two players to the left post the small and big blinds. These are force bets to get the action started. The big blind is always double the small, but unlike a tournament, the blinds rarely change. However, they are sometimes increased to spice up the action. We start here with $300 and $600. There's also an ante of $100 per player, which must be paid if they want to play in a hand. Once the blinds and antes are posted, everyone is dealt 2 cards. We have a round of betting. Then 3 cards are placed face up on the table, called the flop. These are the community cards for all the players to use. Then we have another round of betting, after which the 4th card, the turn, is placed in the middle. This is followed by some more betting and the last community card, the river. Then we finish off with a final round of betting. The best 5-card hand takes the money.
Just to refresh our viewers, blinds are $300, $600. Ante is a running $100.
I don't know.
Whoever raised.
Which, that'll force you to gamble a little bit right there. There's a lot of dead money in that pot already.
Gus Hansen's going to gamble. He's in there in first position with 85 of diamonds.
Yeah. He's going to be a real hero someday.
Tom Dwan raises again, pocket sevens.
That's the great part about playing a lot of hands like Tom Dwan does. When he does hit a hand or catch any big hands, he'll get paid off.
Yeah, and we've seen that. Tom Dwan, by the way, he's up, I want to say about $86,000. And he has gotten paid off. Patrick Antonius, he has re-raised this with the ace-10 off.
And look at this. Chris Ferguson wakes up with a pair. 2 6s, decides to make the call as well.
I saw them do this one time in a movie.
And action back to Gus Hansen. The Great Dane going to call.
Now, there's a lot of flops could get these hands in trouble. 5-8 of diamonds, 2 6s, 2 7s. Anything involving those kind of cards could be straights versus sets. We could see some excitement here.
Jack, Jack, 10.
Well, it's nothing like that. Jack, 10. Patrick Antonius with the best of it right now. He's got 2 pair.
Check.
And pardon me, by the way, Tom Dwan was actually the pre-flop raiser. Patrick Antonius did not re-raise. Pot is $14,100.
I suspect with the coordinated board here, though, if it checks around to Patrick Antonius, he's got to lead something at it. There's too big of a pot already out there with a coordinated board.
Well, you called it. It did check around to Patrick Antonius. He is going to bet.
Looks like he bet around 9,000, I think.
Yeah, those red chips are 1,000. The purples are 100. The blues are 500. And if you see a black one, that's $25,000. I don't really think anybody has anything to call, do they?
You know, I'd be surprised if he gets a call here. I think the only one that Mike can call, and really not, is Tom Dwan, because he's going to be last to act. And as I say that, Gus Hansen decides to call. A lot of floating going on here at the $1 Million Cash game.
I don't think that's a call. I think that's a raise from Gus Hansen. Just trying to get a confirmation.
Wow. No, I think you're right.
I mean, that black chip is 25,000.
So he's made it 25,500 to play. He's representing the jack. Wow.
It's 25,500.
You know,
And indeed, the raise is to 25,500. It's another 15.5 back to Antonius. And it
this is
obviously
actually a tough spot for Patrick Antonius.
I was going to say, these guys have a lot of history together.
Cool.
Patrick knows Gus pretty well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here's the problem. I love Patrick's call there. I think that was excellent. But there's a slew of cards that come off dangerous. 8 of clubs. I mean, that's a pretty dangerous card for that board. It puts a straight out there as well, and 2 flush draws. If Gus makes a big bet here, I'd be shocked if Patrick calls. But boy, it would take some big nerve. Yeah, I don't blame Gus.
Yeah, he doesn't have the nerve there. He checks it.
A check raise on the flop, and you get flat called. Giving up position to Patrick Antonius, another great player. That's tough.
Now, If you're Patrick, though, can you bet this?
You know the reason why I don't like to bet this right here? I know normally saying people would think that if I think I have the best hand, I have to bet and I have to price the draws out. But if he's wrong here, he could possibly get in a situation he can't call a re-raise. I prefer a check and hope for a safe card on the river. I know a lot of people that don't believe in that school of thought, but that's my thought here. My opponent's already showed strength by check raising me on the flop. I don't like a bet here.
I mean, anyway, you cut it. It's a tough spot to be in. But Patrick Antonius, definitely not afraid of tough spots. He bets 37,000.
You know, and if I was going to bet, that's about the bet I would bet. A little over half the pot. And but the only problem with that is you're really not shutting any draws out. If somebody's on a draw, now you've given them the right price to draw. So, I don't know. That's a tough spot. I don't like that bet. But I guess he was afraid to check it to Gus because Gus might lead the river. That's the other school of thought.
And the winner of the FullTiltPoker.net $1 million cash game gets a prestigious trophy. Obviously, beating a field like this, not easy by any means. And right now, it's a close battle between Tom Dwan and Chris Ferguson. Tom Dwan up $93,000. Chris Ferguson up $97,000. Mike Matisow, by the way, still in the running with the ace-7 of clubs.
And I think he actually straddled this pot.
He did straddle, you're right. And we got a raise right under the gun there from Patrick Antonius with the Cowboys.
Wow. Well, you know, it's actually a tough spot for Mike Matisow. Well, it may not be. Gus Hansen wakes up with 2 eights.
Now he's out of position with the eights.
Oh.
He's going to smooth call this, it looks like.
Yeah. I like that. I like a smooth call right there. Wow, it's Tom Dwan. He's actually might be priced in here. Tom plays a lot of hands, but I don't think we're going to see a re-raise, but he might flat call this. And if he calls, that starts the avalanche. That'll bring Mike Matisow for sure.
Well, you said it. When you straddle a pot, these pots just get artificially bigger and bigger.
Well, everybody tries to represent a hand, and looky here. Speaking of trying to represent a hand, Tom Dwan
18-1
is re-raising this pot.
Well, you've got a lot of dead money in there. I mean, you've got the straddle from the mouth. You've got a bet from Antonius.
And
You've got a flat call.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks like a squeeze play, doesn't it?
It looks like a perfect squeeze opportunity, but the only problem is Patrick Antonius got 2 kings. I got a feeling he's going to get squeezed all right. Squeezed into a trapping play here.
By the way, Antonius started this pot with $352,000. Tom Dwan, $293,000. And that's a black chip there. That's $25,000. And he is going to re-raise. He's taking your advice. Dealer will count it down, tell you exactly how much it is.
46.2 total.
And it's $46,200 total.
Pass.
And obviously, Tom Dwan caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
That
has to fold.
Happens from time to time whenever you like to steal cookies.
Do you have anything there?
Yeah, I have 2 cards.
I mean, I bought.
Well, let's take a look at a leaderboard here. Chris Ferguson in the lead. He's up $97,000. And at present, he will win the trophy. Very prestigious one at that. Alan Cunningham is our big loser. He's down $124,000. Mike Matisow, who was once up $100,000, now only up $35,000.
Welcome back to the Bright Lights of London, where some of the biggest names in poker are battling it out for the prestigious trophy. We'll hand you straight back to your commentators.
There's a close-up there, Chris Ferguson.
Ooh.
And there's why. That's exactly why we got the close-up. How about the Cowboys for
18.
Jesus? He makes it 1,800.
Cool.
Under
Quick
the
call
gun.
from Cunningham. And that's interesting here. Cunningham's going to call a raise from Ferguson with pocket threes.
Cool.
Well, he's trying to flop a set. I think that's more Alan Cunningham's version. Of course, Tom Dwan calls with deuce four offsuit. I think they also realize, some of these players, especially Tom Dwan, that Chris Ferguson gets in a big pot with a big pair. If they flop two pair, some odd two pair here, they may get his whole stack.
And I guess when Chris Ferguson is raising under the gun, he's certainly representing a big pair.
He is, absolutely, or big cards for sure.
Well, this is going to go 4 ways. Pot is $8,500.
Oh
and how
my
about that?
gosh, just like we talked about.
Tom Dwan has flopped bottom 2. Chris Ferguson with the overpair.
Ugh, ay caramba, this is going to be a tough one for Chris Ferguson. Really could be.
Yeah, we could see fireworks here.
Check.
Wow.
Check.
I don't think Chris is checking because he's afraid. I think he's checking to check raise.
Well, the one thing about in there with kings, I mean, a board like that, especially with 2 clubs, it's hard to give your opponent credit, right?
Yeah. No, this is going to be. This could end real bad unless Chris gets some help along the way.
6-6.
Yeah, I suspect when the action gets back around to Chris, we're going to see a check raise.
Well,
Not
Tom
even a check
Dwan
call.
makes it 6,600. Patrick Antonius gets out of the way, and it's back to Chris Ferguson. Pot is 15,100. The action is on Chris Ferguson with two kings.
Now, Chris has got a very precarious chips stack position as well right here with 200,000. Ugh. Tom Dwan has him covered if that does come up.
Cool.
Well, Ferguson is going to play this slow. He's going to play a little pot control. Let's see a turn.
5.
Turns the 5 of hearts. That doesn't seem to change anything. Chris Jesus Ferguson against Tom Dwan. Pot is $21,700. Ferguson's going to check it one more time.
But at least Chris is telling a consistent story here. If he led there, it would just look unbelievable. So I like to check.
Well, if there's anybody at this table that knows how to play things tricky even when it's not supposed to be tricky, that's Tom Dwan. Pot $21,700. How's he going to play? Obviously, he wants to build this pot up right now.
16-8.
And he bet 16,008. You called it, Robert.
Yeah, that seems about right to make it look like he's playing a drawing hand here. Ooh, this is big problems for Chris Ferguson. Chris has got to be tempted to re-raise here, but I don't think he will just because of the coordinated board. I have a feeling Chris is really trying to decide whether to flat call or raise, but I think he's going to just flat call it. I can't see Chris doing anything different here.
Cool.
Well, he does call 16,800, and this pot is quickly $55,000. Chris Ferguson needs a king, a queen, or a 5 on the river.
9.
Here's the river.
Queen.
The river's the queen!
Oh,
wow, unbelievable.
Oh.
Chris Ferguson has rivered 2 pair, and that has destroyed Tom Dwan's hand. He knows it.
I think what we're going to see happen here is Chris Ferguson's going to check. Tom's going to either lead 35,000 or just surrender this pot. I think Durr is a great reader of situations, and I think he realizes that he missed this is an opportunity that was missed just because of the river card.
Oh, it's an ugly river for Tom Dwan.
Yeah, real bad river, especially top pair, because Chris could have had the queen himself.
How many black chips do you have there?
I think Tom's going to realize that and not even swing at this.
Well, he's asking for a count. He wants to know how many chips Chris Ferguson has.
Wow.
I think that's kind of irrelevant right now.
No, he might, if he makes a big bet.
Well, Ferguson started this pot with $200,000. Pot is $55,000. How much can he really bet?
He could overbet the pot. If Tom Dwan,
No, he checks. He gives it up.
Nah, you know, that's smart. I like the way Tom Dwan played this hand, and I like the way Chris Ferguson played his hand. Sometimes you're both right. Chris Ferguson gets the luck of the river card.
Unlucky break for Tom Dwan, and Chris Ferguson adds to his lead. He is now the overwhelming winner in this cash game so far.
Well, that's pot control shown by Chris Jesus Ferguson. Kept the pot small enough where he could play that till it was the winning hand.
We bet 200.
I'm Chris Ferguson, 2000 World Champion of Poker. I've played poker all my life. I don't remember when I learned the game. I'm sure my parents taught it to me at some point. It was 1994, so when I really decided to take the game seriously and study the game, trying to be one of the best poker players in the world.
It's
not something that I decided to become a professional poker player. I played poker because I love playing poker, and eventually I was making more money playing poker than anything else. And that's when I realized I was a professional poker player.
Nice hand. He can just call it
The lovely
the next one.
dealer, Donna, doles out the cards. Buttons in front of the Finnish superstar, Patrick Antonius.
Table still dwelling on that last hand a little bit.
That was a huge hand.
Asking what would have happened if Tom Dwan would have shipped it there, and he was considering it. I was right. I thought he might make a big bet or no bet.
Oh, Dwan picks up the aces.
Well, that'll help console him a little bit from that last pot.
7-2. Pass.
And he makes it 7,200. Now we had the original raise under the gun from Alan Cunningham. He made it 2,000.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
This is an unbelievable spot for Tom Dwan. Now, any other player, Patrick Antonius maybe gets away from the kings, but Tom Dwan with the aces?
That's why Tom Dwan gets so much action. He plays so many hands. He mixes it up. When this happens, he gets paid off.
Oh, this is unreal. Just to recap here, Alan Cunningham under the gun raised it up
19.
with pocket threes. Tom Dwan has re-raised it with the aces to 7,200, and Patrick Antonius with pocket kings has made it 19,000.
You know, if Tom Dwan plays this tricky, this could get real expensive for Patrick Antonius.
Pass.
And both players are very deep. Antonius has $371,000 in front of him. Tom Dwan, $250,000 in front of him.
Well, that's why we could see a wide variety of ways to play this. We could see a re-raise right here by Tom Dwan just to get the pot pumped up. We could see a flat call. I think that as deep as the stacks are, I prefer a re-raise. Go ahead and put a little more money in the pot. The thing is this, the way that Tom Dwan's table image is, I think it looks great to go ahead and re-raise right here. I think he gets paid off by even queens, maybe jacks, ace-king.
I mean, obviously he's got Patrick Antonius dominated, but he's only a 4-1 favorite. He's going to lose 1 out of 5 times against those kings.
That's why I like a re-raise right here. Take the lead on this pot. Make it 19, make it 50-something. You know, 55, 60. Make it really tough on Patrick Antonius and help define the hand as well.
47,600.
I like it.
And he makes it 47,600. You said 50-something, pretty close.
Yeah. Back in good old 93, you know when raise, re-raise, re-raise. They had kings to raise.
Not anymore.
That was back in the good old days.
What's that?
When you knew what they had was this action.
It was kings raises.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is in these days, except when you're playing with these guys. Everybody had to put out tapes on how to play. It's your fault. You ruined everything. It's like nobody knew how to play. That was like the last year.
Patrick trying to work this one out.
In the world became superstars, especially 07, 08.
Patrick Antonius started the pot with 371,000. Tom Dwan, 250,000. And look at this.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
Patrick Antonius is all in. Tom Dwan calls immediately.
They did have the aces and kings.
What'd you say? They don't have aces and kings when to raise, re-raise, re-raise?
I guess they do sometimes.
And we have a monster $500,000 chip pot. Unbelievable turn of events here. Aces versus kings.
Oh, we've got
it's Tom Dwan's dream here and Patrick Antonius' nightmare.
We've got a house in the middle of this pot. This isn't a poker hand. This is a house. I mean, look at the size of this pot.
Good luck, boys.
Patrick Antonius really thought long and hard about flat calling. Now I wish he did.
Well, here's the flop. He needs a king.
Oh
my I can't believe it. It's unbelievable.
At least the pizza's here.
Oh, my. Tom Dwan gets all his chips in. This is a $500,000 pot.
Anyone have an ace?
Unbelievable. What a turn of events.
Dwan needs an ace and only an ace.
Well, there's just $500,000 in the pot. That's all.
And here's the turn. It's the Queen of Hearts.
Oh,
Tom
down to
Dwan
two cards.
down to 1 card and only 2 outs, or he is going to lose a $500,000 pot.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
He's got to be about to puke right now.
I'll take 100 more.
I'm about to puke. It's the 4 of spades. Oh,
Wow. Wow, just like that.
I mean, what is he feeling right now? You've played poker your whole life. What's he feeling right now? $500,000 in the pot. He got his money in good, and he loses. Patrick Antonius just won himself $250,000.
Yeah, he's got to be physically feeling like he's going to be sick. I mean, those situations happen. He got his money in with the best of it. Sometimes, like I always say, some days chicken, some days feathers. Right now, Tom Dwan is choking on those feathers.
I know. I swear this sounds crazy, but when that hand got turned up, I said, "Good luck, boys." I swear I felt the king coming.
We'll have a quick word with Tom Dwan. There's not really much one can say other than when your aces get cracked, it's a case of ouch, isn't it? I mean, how philosophical are you about a hand like that?
I wish I had won. If that counts as philosophical, that's about as far as I go on the philosophical part.
Get a feeling that something like that's going to happen or not?
Well, I mean, the card's flipped over, and I know I'm going to lose sometimes and win most of the time, and that time I lost. Whatever happens, it's part of poker. You always need to be ready for it to happen. You gotta just move on and keep playing.
Hello and welcome back to the FullTiltPoker.net $1 Million Cash Game. And the tables have been turned, especially for Tom Dwan, who is now down $200,000. Now we're talking about a $700,000 swing. He flopped bottom 2 pair against Chris Ferguson, an unlucky river against him, and then his aces against Patrick Antonius' kings went up in flames. Antonius, by the way, now up $224,000. Tom Dwan down $200,000. How can he come back from this?
Well, if anybody can come back from being down $200,000, it's Tom Dwan. I mean, he mixes it up. He plays a lot of pots, and I have a sneaking suspicion he's going to be in some more big ones. So we'll see.
Well, he's back in the game for another $100,000.
That's a little surprising. I actually felt like $200,000 would be the right buy-in here with as many opponents, you know, with stacks that deep. But maybe he's got a master plan.
Pass.
Well, obviously still affected from that one. Not only is he down $200,000, but you've got to talk about a $500,000 swing. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And that's not taking into effect that if he wins the pot against Chris Ferguson, he's going to have even more in front of him to play even bigger pot against Patrick Antonius. So, I mean, it literally could have been $1 million swing.
Yeah, the back-to-back hands there for Tom Dwan. Unbelievable. Cool. You got a raise here from Patrick Antonius. A call from Chris Ferguson in the small blind.
King 9 of hearts. That's a pretty, wow, and a very loose call from Alan Cunningham with Jack 6 of clubs. 2 loose calls from the 2 of the tighter players of the table. Oh, wow, this could be some good action here.
Yeah, flop is king, queen, 6, 2 clubs out there. Nothing there for Antonius, but how about top pair for Ferguson and a pair and a flush draw for Alan Cunningham? And you can see the percentages. 50% for Cunningham, 47% for Ferguson. Antonius, pretty much irrelevant. And it checks around. I guess both players were kind of waiting on Antonius to bet.
Yeah.
He did not oblige. Turn brings the 4 diamonds.
Yeah, that was a very coordinated flop. He realizes the 2 tight players, Chris Ferguson and Alan Cunningham, are very capable of having hands in that range.
Well, Ferguson is going to bet.
I think he bet a little more than 4,000. That's about right. 2/3, 3/4 pot.
And it's a $4,500 bet.
I like that size bet. Kind of lets him get a feel for where he's at.
Well, I mean, he's got top pair, but he only has a 9 kicker. So 2 diamonds out there, 2 clubs out there. Doesn't want to let another free one come. Alan Cunningham is going to call this. Pot is now $16,000.
They're even, man.
9.
And it's a 9. Now, if you weren't sure about your kicker before, you've got to like it. Now he's got kings up.
Yeah, but it also puts a straight and a flush out there. Jack 10 makes a straight, and the 9 of diamonds puts a flush. I suspect we'll see Chris Ferguson check, and then either Alan's going to make a play at the pot and get called, or Alan's going to give up. But I think we'll see a check right here by Chris. Two made hands get there, flush and a straight.
Are you worried about the... I mean, I can see the straight, obviously, on the flop, but are you worried about the backdoor diamonds?
Yeah, absolutely, because it goes check on the flop. That means if Alan calls the turn, he could easily have been on diamonds.
1100.
Well, you're usually right, but you're wrong on this one. It's an $11,000 bet from Chris Ferguson. 11,000 into 16.
Yeah, I don't see how Alan Cunningham could even consider a call, and he can't.
Yeah.
I prefer a check call there with that type of a hand, but Chris Ferguson decides to lead at it instead.
Action on Tom Dwan, who, just like you said, he rebought for an extra 100,000. He's now in for 200,000. He's in the game for 400,000.
Yeah, I had a feeling with the stack sizes the way they were that we would see Tom Dwan definitely add on another 100,000, and I guess from my lips to his ears, one way or the other, it was the right play.
Tom Dwan, a phenomenal player, didn't have much luck in the $1 Million Cash Game Season 3, and that trend is holding true in Season 4 as well.
Well, this one he's gotten real unlucky. I don't know that he's misplayed these two hands. I actually like the way he played them, but you know, sometimes luck plays a factor in this.
Well, Patrick Antonius has raised it up with the Queen Jack. Andrew Feldman going to call it with the suited ace, ace-9 of hearts. Gus Hansen in the big blind with King Jack offsuit. It's a tough hand to play out of position, but Gus Hansen's not one to throw away a hand, is he?
I was going to say, two face cards, a little pre-flop raise. Nah, I don't think we'll see anything but a flat call here from Gus.
Cool.
And that's exactly what you do see. You see the flat call. Pot is now $7,300. Here's the flop.
King, 4,
Wow,
ace.
what a flop for Andrew Feldman. Ace, king, 4, couple of hearts out there. He's got top pair and the nut flush draw.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if it checks around the Andrew Feldman. If he checks it back, why get tangled up with a bigger ace? And give him a free card.
Yeah, Patrick Antonius has got a gut shot to Broadway, but he needs to catch a 10 that's not a heart. Gus Hansen, he's got second pair. Can catch a king or a jack, as long as the jack is not a heart. And Andrew Feldman's going to bet $4,200.
Well, we might see somebody get out there on air, but that's the only way we'd see it, I think.
Well, it's a pretty smallish bet. He's betting about 50% of the pot.
Pass.
Look at this, I think. And Gus Hansen has flat called.
Yeah, he flat called here.
5.
Turn is the 5 of clubs.
Check.
And Gus is going to check. He gives the old finger check. And Andrew Feldman. Now, does he take the card here, or does he think he's ahead? I mean,
it's a tough spot.
There aren't many cards that can hurt him. I mean, he's only going to lose to a king or a jack that's not a heart. Here's the river.
10.
The 10. Oh, wow. And Patrick Antonius would have made Broadway this Queen Jack with the 10 of spades there.
Sure would have.
Andrew Feldman in the lead.
Check.
Well, Gus Hansen's going to hope his kings are good.
I do love a small value bet. You know, something like 6,500, a little less than half the pot. But that's about all he could bet, because otherwise he's going to get called by only hands that could beat him.
And, of course, if he does bet 6,500, he opens himself up to the big check raise. Gus Hansen
is very capable of making that. Yeah, so that's why maybe if he does bet, he bets
10,000.
more.
Well, he bets 10,000. He's going to bet pretty much 2/3 of the pot.
Well,
Pot now $25,700, and it's 10,000 back to Gus Hansen.
You know, wild
Frisky.
there, a little frisky, and re-raises him, and then he's got a tough decision. So that's probably why he bet 2/3 the pot.
Well, Gus Hansen, a decision here. And after the monster pots we've just seen, this looks like a small pot, but the pot is $25,700.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a laydown by Gus, because it looks like Andrew Feldman has a weak ace.
Well, Gus Hansen's going to call there. It's a crying call.
Wow.
And Andrew Feldman, great value bet there on the river by him.
Surprised it
Gets called by the king, and Gus Hansen gives away $10,000 there. The Great Dane can't be happy with that one.
Yeah, he usually makes that read.
I'm really looking forward to playing with Gus Hansen, because everyone says Gus is just a great person to have on the table, and Mike Mattisell also, he's a very good character. Patrick Antonius, I just see him as like an absolute robot, and he's just so composed, so hard to pick up on reads. And obviously Phil Ivey will be very intimidating, as he's just like achieved everything there is.
We're in the heart of London, and some of the best players in the world have come together to play a big cash game. Well over $1 million at the table. Everybody playing with their own money. Well, the Cowboys, we've seen a lot of them. Andrew Feldman with pocket kings.
2,100.
He's going to raise this up. Now, he just won a pot. Let's see if he can ride that momentum to another win.
Pass.
Yeah, it may play to his advantage that he just played that last pot with an ace-9. He might look like he has a weak ace.
Well, Tom Dwan doesn't like to give up his blinds, even with a hand as weak as ace-7. And we'll see this heads up. How about a 7-7 king flop?
Well, I'd call that a cooler.
6, 10. Check.
Well, not quite 7-7 king. How about 5, 6, 10 with a couple of spades in there? Now, Feldman has the king of spades.
Which actually could come into play a little bit, you know. Has a few more cards cut off. Makes it a little harder for Tom Dwan to have a big drawing hand against him.
Check.
Well, he's going to check it here. Maybe check it for pot control and at the same time to get some value out of his hand later on.
Yeah. And he's also playing a little tricky. He knows Tom Dwan is liable to lead at this pot. I don't see how now, though, with the king of spades and 3 spades on the board. And he does. He checks it back. Wow. Yeah.
Ace.
Well, he's backed into the nuts. How's that? He's backed into the ace-king high flush. I mean, he's got the absolute nuts. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm sorry. There is a straight flush out there.
And Tom Dwan makes top pair. Yeah.
4-7 of spades would actually be the nut flush.
I don't like the way Andrew Feldman played this hand at all. I don't think he was going to make any money, but
2,100.
it just seems awful hard for him. Oh.
Well, he made 2,100.
Well, actually, the way he played it, he made more than he would have the other way, so I stand corrected.
He gives away a lot of information, though. Everybody at the table probably wondering, scratching their head, going, wow, that's the way you play kings? On a board of 10, 6, 5, you don't bet?
Max value.
Yeah, I don't like giving up information for $2,100 additional dollars in a game like this. You've got a bunch of caged tigers here at the table with you. I don't like to give out any information at all. I would have rather had the pot without the extra $2,100.
It's the FullTiltPoker.net $1 million cash game. I'm David Tuckman alongside Robert Williamson III, and we have been witnessing quite the poker game.
Absolutely. What a game this is. And the game is on. When Tom Dwan gets the loser, he's always got a lot of gamble anyway, but when he's a loser, the game is on.
Yeah, Dwan is now down $205,000. Patrick Antonius, as if he need any help getting the ladies.
Well, luck be a lady tonight.
And what a shocker, Tom Dwan. He is in there with the 10-7 offsuit.
6, 8.
Now, 10-7.
He's got a gut shot. Gutter ball.
Antonius, though, he's got to like his queens right now.
Definitely. I think we're going to see a lead. He'll lead at this. 6,000. Between 5 and 6,000. He usually likes to lead a little bigger bets. He might even lead 6,500.
That's 7,000.
Well, he bet 7,000. It is a big lead, like you said. And the one thing about all these poker players, all these phenomenal poker players, the one constant, they all take a long time at the decisions. They're very deliberate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think anytime you're playing deep stack poker, especially like they're playing, it's more important to take your time for many reasons. One, to think the hand through thoroughly, but two, also to position.
I mean, look at all the straight draws out there.
Yeah.
5-7's a straight draw, 9-7's a straight draw, 9-10 is a straight draw.
Raise 22,600. 22,600 total.
Pot is 38,400. Tom Dwan has raised this up to 22,600. Now, this is the interesting thing. We saw this earlier from Tom Dwan. It seems like when he's got something, or if he's got a draw, he'll often just call there. He seems to be raising it only when he's either flopped a monster, like a set, or in this case, kind of a
drawing.
Pretty much nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
like a slight draw.
Right, like a semi-bluff, but more of a bluff than a semi-bluff because he's got only a few outs. Yeah, you know, that's a pretty dry board. I know there's a lot of straight draws. I would have rather flat called and waited till a scare card came on the turn that puts a straight out there. I don't like this raise by Tom Dwan at all.
Raise.
And a re-raise by Patrick Antonius.
57,000.
And the re-raise by Patrick Antonius, he's re-raised it back to 57,000.
Well,
I don't. Now Tom Dwan only started this hand with 195,000.
We'll see one of two things here. We'll see a fold by Tom Dwan or an all-in. I don't think we'll see anything short of it.
I mean, can he move all in? I mean, at this point,
Absolutely.
Has Patrick Antonius? I mean, can Patrick Antonius fold the queens at this point?
He can. He doesn't have enough money in the pot. He can get away from this still. So it's actually Patrick Antonius gave him the right leverage for Tom Dwan to move all in right here.
Call.
Wow. A flat call by Tom Dwan. I don't like that at all. That's a strange flat call there.
Well, let's see the turn.
Wise.
Well,
Two.
if there's any safe card in the deck, it was the deuce of clubs.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a pretty big bet from Patrick Antonius here.
I mean, the way Dwan has played this hand, I mean, it's almost as if he's either slow playing. I mean, he smooth called the second raise with a set. I guess a straight draw is a possibility, but he really played this very strange, a very odd line to take.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I figured a call was the only thing he wouldn't do on the turn, so this one's shaping up real bad for Tom Dwan. He's played it so that he can't win the pot.
Well, now Patrick Antonius has pot committed himself, and Tom Dwan's got to throw his cards in the muck. I mean, Patrick Antonius bet 75,000.
That's why it was such a bad call. He's got to either move all in right there or muck it, because he can't call any lead unless a dangerous card comes, and even then, I don't think he's going to get Patrick away from his hand.
Now, Tom Dwan, obviously a fantastic poker player. Not taking anything away from him. But even the best players in the world have been known to go on tilt. Do you think right now, Tom Dwan, after losing with 4-deuce when he flops bottom two pair, after losing with pocket aces, is he maybe tilting just a little bit?
I don't think he's tilting at all. I think he's playing his style of poker, and that's keeping the pressure on his opponents.
Call.
Well, Hansen going to play. Ace-10 offsuit. He's going to limp in.
He limps in that position with a wide range of hands.
Yeah, we've seen that. Well, Antonius is going to call. Not suited queen.
That's the computer hand, Queen 7. Known as the computer hand because it's what's considered an average hand.
Now, Andrew Feldman, after a couple of limps, you're in the small blind with ace-jack offsuit. You know the kind of range that Gus Hansen and Patrick Antonius have. Is this a re-raise spot?
Well, it's one of two things. Play it tricky and just flat call and see what the flop brings. Or I think you're going to get called even if you raise pre-flop. I like what he did. I like just a flat call.
He picked option 1. He just flat called, played it tricky. Well, he's flop top pair. But now he doesn't quite know where he's at because Ferguson has flopped second pair. Antonius has flopped bottom pair. And Gus Hansen with the gut shot straight draw.
Yeah, you're right. That's the only problem with this kind of a flop with Andrew Feldman's hand. But as long as the pot stays relatively small, he can stick around.
Play a little small ball here.
Absolutely. Pot control right here. This is total a pot control hand.
Pot is now $7,500.
Wouldn't be surprised if we saw a call with a gut shot in middle pair from Chris Ferguson either. Wouldn't be outside of the realm of possibility.
Call.
And he's going to call. I thought maybe we might even see a raise there from Ferguson, see if he could take this one away. He's kind of played those sneaky, aggressive plays every once in a while, playing for his image. 5 of diamonds.
Well, it gives Chris Ferguson another gut shot.
Yeah, exactly. Normally you'd think that doesn't change anything, but now actually Chris Ferguson with the double gutter can catch a 6 or a 10.
Yeah, that definitely helped Chris's hand.
A 9 will also win it for him. The 8, though. All the 8 does is give Gus Hansen a straight.
Yeah, this is actually a kind of a tricky hand for Gus to play. He gets called by one of the tighter players at the table, and it's an overcall.
I mean, to me, when Chris Ferguson overcalls, you got to be running for the exits, don't you?
Yeah, that's when you start to not like this hand very much. I think, well, I guess Gus is playing power poker, trying to money whip him.
Now, he is in the pot with the 2 tightest players at the table so far. From what I've seen today, Andrew Feldman and Chris Ferguson, definitely the 2 tightest players at this table. Yet Gus Hansen is trying to blow them both out of the hands.
Wow.
Well,
and Andrew Feldman folds top pair just like that. And I suspect we might see the same thing from Chris Ferguson, but with 2 gut shots. That's tough to fold.
As high as your gut shot, but
Well, the interesting thing, Andrew Feldman, he kind of underrepresented his hand by not raising preflop, then didn't bet out, gave the betting lead to Gus Hansen, and allowed himself to get bluffed off the hand.
no, I'm saying I think just
Right now, the action on Chris Ferguson. The pot is $17,400, and he's got a decision to make. It's $7,700 to him.
Yeah, I think there's at least a 70% chance Chris Ferguson's going to call here. I just have a gut feeling that he has enough outs, even if he doesn't have the best hand right now.
Cool.
And he does call.
He is going to call. Now,
Yeah,
what's
I
he
was
going to
pretty
do?
sure.
What's he going to do on the river if he misses? What if a deuce comes off on the river?
I think he's going to check and then make a decision if Gus makes a big bet or not.
Well, let's see what happens. Oh, wow. Well, it's the third diamond out there. It also completes Gus Hansen's straight.
But it also gives Chris Ferguson 2 pair. There's 4 to a straight. A 6 or a 10 makes a straight. This is a tough spot for Chris Ferguson for sure, but I think he can get away from this.
I mean, the way Gus Hansen has played this hand, would you put him on a 10?
Check.
Not necessarily, but he could easily have something like Jack 10, top pair with a gut shot. Yeah, I think we'll see a value bet here from Gus Hansen, hoping that Chris has a 6 or some kind of 2-pair hand. I'd be surprised if we didn't see a value bet from Gus Hansen. 15,000 or roughly.
And those are the $25,000 chips.
22,000 bet.
And he bets $22,000.
Wow.
And I think there was no question we were going to see a value bet.
Yeah.
He was betting with nothing the whole way. Finally, he hits his hand. Why not bet?
You know, the ironic part is I was thinking a value bet would be half or maybe a little more than half the pot. He bets nearly the whole pot. Maybe he's representing a bluff now.
Well, that's the one thing about Gus Hansen that makes him so dangerous. He's so unconventional. Normally, when you'd think, okay, value bet time, maybe we're going to bet half the pot. That's exactly what he kind of throws everything out the window, and he goes for it all.
And the glasses have come off, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Matasso summarizes the situation.
Well, Mike the Mouth said it the best. The glasses come off. Chris Ferguson got to think this one through. He's made 2 pair. To me, and you're the pro, but to me, Gus Hansen either has to have a flush or either has to have some sort of a straight.
Yeah.
To bet this.
Or air.
Or nothing at all, exactly.
Or air, yeah.
No, Chris Ferguson certainly taking his time with this one. And you know what? You can't blame him. $22,000. There's Melissa Hayden, Alan Cunningham standing up. Everybody standing up watching this one. Well, very excited. We're talking about a $50,000 pot up for grabs.
I think the part that's confusing Chris Ferguson is the size of the bet. It looks like either air or a big hand by Gus Hansen because he bet so much. He bet almost the entire pot.
Well, Ferguson's got the black chip in his hand. It looks like he's definitely considering this call.
Flip a coin, Chris.
I'd be surprised, real surprised if Chris Ferguson calls here.
I think the size of the bet is exactly what's confused him. Let's see. He takes one more check. Yep, I do have 2 pair. Here's the chip I call.
Wow.
I have a 10.
Your hand's good.
And it's a great bet by Gus Hansen.
Wow. Can't believe that. Really thought Chris Ferguson would make that lay down. Fairly surprised.
Yeah, you got to imagine the big bet by Gus Hansen. It looked like a bluff, and that's exactly why he made that big bet.
Yeah, I'll let you get there.
Chris Ferguson fell for it.
Yeah.
Pays him off $22,000.
Well played by Gus Hansen. It's a great day.
That's the new Gus.
You hit back
He makes the right decisions.